Welcome to the Web Development Crash Course, designed specifically for beginners by Wsuits Industries. Let's build the web together. Back to the course. In this course, we are going to cover CSS Box Model, and we're going to open our IDE. So first of all, the last video that we did, we had a normal CSS layout right here that really looks not that nice. So we are going to learn CSS Box Model. Now before we get into the main coding, what I want you guys to do is to open something known as DevTools. Now you just navigate to your browser window where you have opened your website code. You right click. After right clicking, click on inspect. Now when you click on inspect, this is known as the browser developer tools. So this developer tools gives us some basic developer level tools for our HTML page. It gives you the element structure, the console, the sources, the network, performance, and memory. Now we're not going to dive into these concepts. All I want you guys to do is to navigate to the element section. Now in the element section, you can see this right here. What you are seeing right here is the HTML that we wrote, and the browser has also added its own HTML and JavaScript to it. That is for rendering the page. Now what I want you guys to understand is that you see when I'm hovering over these things, you can see some lines are being drawn on it. So basically speaking, the lines that are being drawn on it are specific lines and they have their meaning. So what we're going to do is that we're going to go to our HTML code right here. Down deep inside our HTML code, that is inside the developer tools. After clicking on element, you can see that when I hover over things, some line is being drawn. Now you can see when I hover over the body, a line is drawn right here. It's all over the whole body content. When I go to the heading, it is drawn on the head. Now when I go to the other headings, you can see every element has a certain type of box outside it. Now we're going to explain what this box does. Let's concentrate on the first heading, that's the portfolio. You see, when I hover over it, what you are seeing here is known as the box model. In HTML and CSS, everything is treated as a box. So when I write a certain code and put it on the website, that thing is going to be treated as a box. That is why you can see this line outside it. Now the box has so many meanings and what they do. Now the first thing we are going to learn is the main content of the page. The main content is what you wrote right here, the portfolio, the name right here. That's the main content. It is the one that is marked light blue. And outside it we have the padding, that's a green one. The padding is a space that wraps around the margin, the content. Then the margin is what wraps around the padding, and the border is what wraps inside the margin. So basically speaking, it's kind of confusing, but all you have to do understand is that they are kind of boxes that the element is kept into. Now what we are going to do is we are going to be able to manipulate these boxes to be able to shift our element. So what I want you guys to do is that you can see that our element has a class called heading. So whatever we do to the heading class is going to affect it. So navigate to your CSS and look for the heading style. So you can see that heading style is right here. So what I want you guys to do is that type dot heading. Then this time we are going to create a new style for it using the CSS box model. So what we're going to do is that we need to change the padding, the spacing. So we say padding. Then we give I remember that I said that elements on the web page, you can manipulate them using pixels. So I'll say 20 pixels, and you can see it should change the size. When I do 200 pixels, it has moved the object. So you can see that this time the object is now pushed to the middle right here because the space in between it, outside it, is now 200 pixels all over it. So you can simply change this. For instance, I can give this about 0 pixels and see nothing happens. It's still the same. So what we're going to do is we can even change the padding left. Then I can say padding left 20 pixels. You can see it should push the left hand side. And if I want, I can make it 100 pixels, and you can see it pushes the element to the middle. So all elements that have that pattern, or there will be a space in between here. So now what most developers do is that they just simply start by writing padding instead of them specifying the left or right. They know that when you start here 20px, it represents an axis. So 20px, comma 20px, 20px. So this is how they can write it, and they can write it in multiple lines. But for beginner level, I advise you just say 20px like this. Then you can manipulate it. Now let's say we want to give a border. The border, we use the border keyword, but this time after typing border, you have to specify what type of border you are specifying. So the basic one we use is solid. When I type solid, you can see a solid line has been drawn over the content. So after typing solid, I will now say border color, then I can change the color of the border. So you see, when I change the color of the border, you can see it becomes a little bit dark, so light. So I say border color, let's make it a little bit dark. So after creating your border color, you can create your border radius. That's something like the edges. So we can say 20px, and it makes this round thing out around the border. So you can see that our page now has some kind of representability a little bit. So it has this curved lines. So when I type 40px, you can see that it makes it more round. So you can change it as time goes on. So we can also say, after doing the border color, border radius, basically you have done something. So what I will do is we are going to create a padding of 50 pixels. Then it should push the element. You can see that 50 pixels has pushed away all the corners inside the border. So now we want to push our element away from other elements. So we are going to use the margin command. So when we type margin, we'll give the pixels 20 pixels, and you see it should be able to push away other elements. Let's increase it. Yes, so after increasing it, you can see other elements have pushed away from all the headings. So now, basically speaking, we can even change the background image of the background color of our stuff. So I'll give it something like light or light. I think white will do. Yes, white is okay. Yes, so after doing white, you can see that you now understand that the element, you can edit it as much as you want. So we're going to decrease the padding right now. We're going to cancel this. We'll decrease the padding to 10. Good. Then we can now see text align to be in the middle. So text align center. So basically we have created a very normal heading that looks okay a little bit. Is better. So this is how you can use CSS Box Model. So there are also other things we have to learn, that is Flexbox. Now Flexbox is simply something that has to do with responsiveness of a website. So what we are going to do is that we're going to go to our HTML code right here. Inside your HTML code, I want you to create something after your body tag. So what we are going to do, we're going to comment and say Navbar. Now this is the Navbar. Most websites you go to, you see the home, about, contacts. So this is what we are going to create. We'll use a tag called header. Now inside this tag, we are now going to create our navbar. So we use the nav keyword. So after using the nav keyword, we have opened our nav tab. So inside our nav tab, we are going to create an unordered list. So UL tag. That is a list we have now created, an unordered list. Then we create li element. Now inside the li element, we are going to create a link element. Then we are linking it to the about.html, which does not exist. Since the HTML files are not existing, we're going to give it a hash sign. So then we're going to copy all of this right here, paste it 4 times, at least 4 is okay. Then in between them, we should type something to represent the text there. Here will be about, here will be home, here will be login, here will be contact us. Contact. So if we go back to our HTML page, you can see that this is created right here. This is actually what we have coded. So it's time for us to style it. Now, I want you to study something. You can see that all the list elements are inside the UL tag, and all the UL tag is inside the nav tag. So the container. Now, in CSS, you have to understand that things are also treated as boxes. So the boxes are now put into containers. So these list items are now seen as items and the URL is seen as a container. So what we are going to do is that we are going to style the container. So let's go to our CSS. We call the URL tag. We will not give it any class. Then we could also give it a class if it's the best way. So what I'm going to do is that we're going to call this URL tag the navbar. So we'll say id equals to navbar. So we're going to style the navbar. So we go here, we call the navbar by using the hash, that is for IDs, the name of the ID. Now what we are going to do is we are going to use Flexbox. Flexbox is a way of displaying elements on this page, making them responsive. That is, it will correspond to the size and the width of the spacing of everything on the page. So what we are going to type is display flex. Typing this activates Flexbox on your website. You can see when I just type display flex, it has already arranged the elements into this form already. So you can see that also our code Flexbox has been activated. So now what we're going to do is we have to control the main axis of the HTML page. So we say flex direction. So the flex direction basically has two basic forms, that is column and row. When I say column, you can see it arranges it in this vertical format. When I say row, it arranges it in the horizontal format. So after doing this, it has arranged our elements in the horizontal format. So what next we are going to do is that we need to give a space in between all the elements. So we are going to use the gap keyword. So we now say gap, then give it a pixels. That is, the pixels is going to represent the space in between the elements. So when type 20 pixels, you can see that 20 pixels has been created in between all the navbar elements. So the next thing we are going to do is we need to space out the elements, put them in the middle or at the right hand side. What I would like to do is put at the right hand side. So I'll say align items, I'll say right, align items. First of all, I'll say center, and it still says the same. So basically speaking, Flexbox, we want it to be at the right hand side. So the next thing we are going to do is basically after spacing out everything, the next thing we are going to type is justify content. That is to justify which space in which the content is going to be. So you want it to be at the right hand side. When we type this, you can see that it's now at the right hand side. Our content is now at the right hand side. So we have now created our Flexbox. Now remember that our navbar is also the UL tag. That means we can control the lists. So we say list style and we say none. Now when we type list style none, all the dots that were here are normal. So we can also say text decoration none. Now I don't want any text decoration, so it removes all the text decoration. Now with the A tag, I'm just going to copy an A tag and say text decoration none. So after typing this, you can see that because I've selected the A tag, all tags that are associated with the A tag will not have that underline under it. So now we can now style our tag. So what we're going to do is that we have created our nice flex layout of the navbar, about home, login, contact. So if you can increase the spacing in between them by using the gap. So I can say 50 to increase more space. I can say 40, or I'll say 35 is okay. Good. So now what we have to do now is just say color. I want a light color. Then after creating a light color, I'll say text weight, font weight bold. After making the font bold, we're going to give it a border. Then we see the border color, and the border will be solid. Background color. I think the background color should be white, and the text itself should be something that is blue. So basically we are creating our buttons just like that by using our nice CSS layout. So let's create our buttons by specifying the color. Good. So now after doing this, we want our border to have this nice round like look. So we'll say border radius 20 px. Now we give it a padding of 20 px, that's pixels. Then we say text align center. So text align should be in the center. We'll say align items center. Then also inside this we'll say align items center. Now good, so I think we have our padding in line. We made a mistake here, let's just make it padding. Good. So now we have created our funny looking buttons. Let's make it 1px. Good. So you see we have created our nice looking buttons right here. So that's the power of CSS. Very, very nice. So now we can also add shadows to this, but that will be for the next video. So thanks for watching this video. Please like, share and comment. The next video will be covering more awesome stuff. Please subscribe.